So welcome to the $1 Million Call One of the Month, which is our group coaching call. And I've been creating this masterclass the last 4 weeks. You know, you guys know how I create. I tune into my energy. I feel what needs to be brought forward, and I have so much fun creating it. And today I was just like, I need to do something a little bit different tonight. This is the $1 Million Mirror, and we're going to start tonight's masterclass in a way that we haven't started a masterclass before. So we're together tonight for an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 9 minutes left. We are going to do lots and lots of learning. I'm going to share lots of information with you about the $1 Million Mirror. I'm going to tell you why I've decided that this is such a vital topic for you guys. And you're also going to spend some time right at the beginning working in pairs and partners. So I'm going to set you up for that as well. And there's going to be some time throughout the masterclass for you to make some notes. So you're all going to need some blank paper, preferably not in a journal or, a piece that you could rip out of your journal. So loose leaf paper would be ideal. Any questions before we get into it? So I have a question for all of you. I have a question for all of you, and I'd love you to share in the chat box, or you can write it in your journal, whatever you're comfortable with. And my first question is, how willing are you to be seen? How willing are you to be seen? Now, you might want to think of this question in two different terms. Number one, how willing am I to put myself out there and allow people to see me? Number two is, how willing am I to put myself out there and let people see the real me? The real authentic me, all of me, every facet, every fiber. I'd love you just to share some reflections in the chat box, or if anyone's willing, unmute yourself and come on and let me know what's coming up for you. Gemma, go for it.
Hiya. It's quite a triggering question, actually. I would say that because of my profession as a teacher, I am very cautious of putting myself all out there for what fear of judgment, but also, the sort of ramifications that come with the position that I'm in. And I found myself previously where I've gone to put myself out there and had to rein it back in because I got into a bit of bother. And I know, Jess, you've experienced something similar. So I do feel curtailed, and I think I'm frustrated by that I can't be all of me because of the current, and I'm going to say current job that I am doing. Yeah. Because I think I'm doing myself a disservice being in a profession that curtails me.
Very interesting reflection, Gemma. And I want you to hold that thought for when we come to talking about money stories, because this is a story that you've got. And you're right, guys, for those of you who are kind of new to my world, I used to be a teacher. I put myself out there on television programs, received a lot of feedback, all of the good, all of the challenging, and education didn't like it, right? So I know what you're talking about. So hold that thought, Gemma. And I love that, you're in a position that doesn't feel comfortable. Right? You're in a position like, will I leap out of teaching and into what I really want to be doing? And as always, the universe is like, here's another little bit of a shove for you, right? So it's fun. Have fun with it, and just consider that this may also be a story. Love that share. Let's have a look at the chat box. So Roz has said, being visible has always been daunting for me. I'm starting to feel more comfortable with it. You're being celebrated with your share in the chat box, Gemma. Rachel says, I do put myself out there, but probably not as much as I could. I don't talk about the real me much though, as I am always trying to work out how to link this to my business, and it's vulnerable. Stephanie says she feels the same as Gemma, fear of judgment. It feels like the edge of a comfort zone, and there is a leap that needs to be taken to get to the next level. Renata agrees with that too. Daunting. The real me is always an evolution. Is it ever possible to share the real me? Absolutely. And we're going to talk about that tonight as well, Denise. So brilliant, brilliant shares to kick us off. Leah wants to put herself out there, but there is a block stopping her. Okay. Now, something that really stops us often from putting ourselves out there to be fully seen is that when we hold up that mirror, and tonight we're going to call it the $1 million mirror, when we hold up that mirror, our truth is revealed. The good, the bad, the ugly. And at that point, when you're looking in the mirror, the ego kicks in. And the ego wants to keep you safe, and the ego wants you to play small. And so this little voice kicks in with all of the self-doubt, with all of the negativity, with all of the criticism, with all of the what ifs, right? So the $1 million mirror is powerful when you're willing to hold it up to yourself without judgment, and to use the words of the ego, the voice of the ego, to just catch an awareness. These are where my thoughts are at. These are where my mind's going. These are the things that will keep me in the comfort zone. Now, why this is such a powerful topic for me, you guys know when it was my birthday in September last year, I set my goals for chapter 39. And one of my goals, my fourth goal, I had 4 goals and I only have 3. But one of my goals was that 2023 would be my first $1 million year in business. Now, out of all of my goals, the $1 million goal was my biggest stretch. And so I jumped into that goal head first. I put all my energy into that goal. I signed up with a new coach who could really support me with the business side of things. I looked at my business model, all sorts of things. And I was having so much fun focusing on this goal. And I was having so much fun focusing on this goal, focusing on the $1 million, because I really thought it was important in terms of my next leap, in terms of showing you guys what was possible, that it completely consumed me. And I was having fun with it. So it didn't seem like it was bad to be like consumed head into this goal. In fact, I thought it would inspire people. But being so locked into this $1 million goal, what I didn't realize was that I was straying from my mission. Now, my only mission on this planet is to love my family so powerfully that our love ripples out into the world. Our friends, our clients, our communities, and the world. That's why I'm sitting here in front of you guys right now. And what my family pointed out to me was, you're with us a lot and you're not really present. You're in your office doing that studying thing and you're not really present with us. Like, we miss you. We notice that you're not in alignment with who you declare yourself to be right now. And if that's showing up at home with your family, your most important priority, it's probably also rippling into your clients, into other areas of your life. Now, because they love me so much, my family were willing to hold that mirror up to me. And it really led me to consider, with this goal focused on money, why was I focused on? Why was the number 1 million so important to me? Who was I being by being attached to that specific number? And how was it impacting my day-to-day life? And when I looked at it, closely, when I really looked in the mirror and asked myself those questions, the goal of $1 million wasn't serving me or any of you guys. It was fun, but I wasn't coming from that energy. I was coming from the energy of, I've declared this to the world as my goal, and so I now have a responsibility to go out there and achieve it. So what I did in those moments was I actually decided to let that goal go, return to myself, focus on my family, focusing on having fun, focus on loving you all hard, like you know me for doing. And guess what? I'm closer to that $1 million goal than I ever have been. I'm on track to like get there and exceed it just because I'm having the most fun and I'm not attached to it. I honestly couldn't care less what the numbers are at the end of the year anymore. And from that energy, as a byproduct of who I'm being, I'm getting there anyway. So the $1 million mirror is very revealing, and we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about money stories. We're going to talk about the dip as you step forward in your evolution. And we're also going to talk about becoming unrelatable. So that's where we're going to go. And first, we're going to do some partner work. We're going to go into pairs, and you know, there's this new tool with breakout rooms now where I can broadcast to you guys, right? So I'm going to give you question number 1. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to share your answers to the questions. Then I'm going to broadcast in very dramatic movie style the second question. You're going to share your answers, and then there's going to be a third question, and then I'm going to bring you guys back. I'll take some shares, and then we're just going to get into the knowledge and the learning. Sound fun? I see lots of smiles. I see lots of smiles. So the very first question, the very first thing that I'd love you to do in your pairs is simply introduce yourself to each other, right? Now, what's really important when you go into your breakout rooms is that tonight you're here for learning. Tonight you're here for your evolution. You're not here to make friends. That will be a byproduct of being in this community because we are the most loving, supportive community on the planet. But when you're in the breakout room space, focus on the questions. It's the questions, the answers, and your listening that is going to support your growth and evolution. The social stuff can come after. Make sense? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to put you into groups. They're just going to be completely random. And the first thing I invite you to do is simply introduce yourself to each other. We're going to do 90 seconds each. So that's the 3 minutes for introductions. Okay, so we'll do 3 minutes for the first question, and then I'll direct you on the second question. Any questions before we go? Let me just see. Right, okay, let's go, ladies. Have the most fun. Keep an eye on the clock, and I will broadcast with the next question very soon. Okay, ladies, question number 2. You have woken up today with $1 million in your bank account. Look in the mirror. Who do you see? How do you feel? And what do you spend today doing? Okay. And question number 3 is you're now told that this $1 million in your bank account, you can actually keep it. And in order to do so, you've got to work for it. You've got 12 months to prove that you are worthy of keeping this $1 million. How do you feel? Who's the person you see in the mirror at the end of these 12 months? What did it take for you to be worthy of this money in your bank account? What did you do? Oh, welcome back. Did I sound like Morgan Freeman, or was I more like Billy Connolly? Okay, so let's get into this. I'd love for a couple of you to share. What did you experience in the breakout rooms? What was the answers to your questions? What did you realize? Was there any new awareness? Who would like to share? So question number 1 was introduce yourselves. Question number 2 was you wake up with $1 million in the bank. How does it feel? What do you do? And then question number 3 was somebody says to you, do you know what? You can keep that $1 million in the bank. And for the next 12 months, you need to prove that you're worthy of it. How does that show up? What do you commit to? How do you look at the end of those 12 months when you look in the mirror? And whatever came up for you is perfect. So Stephanie Van Dam, kick us off.
So to answer, so question 2 was funny because when you said you get to keep it, and both Denise and I were like, we thought we were keeping it. We're like, I don't know why number 2's irrelevant. And next question, so we had to giggle over that. But I think that both of us agreed for who do we see? I don't know that we talked about the trust or the conviction level that we had in the trust that things would work out as they would, that we become less attached to the outcome of conversations that we had, that we wouldn't necessarily full scale change who we were, or that wouldn't, have a huge impact on how we operate, with the exception that perhaps our confidence in ourselves, and like I said, that the conviction in the trust that things will work out how they're supposed to, will happen. Parallel ice hockey in Canada here, we've got the hockey playoffs going on, and there was a team that was up by like 4 goals or 3 goals, and then they ended up losing the game. And so one of the comments I made was that, oh my gosh, the team, they're holding their sticks too tight, is sort of the analogy, that when they start, and then they started to lose, and then they lost the game. So it was sort of that you get to loosen your hold on the stick, when you've got a bit of that money there. And then we just said the worthiness, that we're all worthy of $1 million. There's no question about whether we were worthy of it. It was to feel like to keep it, that it was about sort of that consistent, conscious embodiment of who we be, is what will make us feel like to keep it, that the universe would, shine upon us to give us more, presuming we're doing the consistent action.
Yeah.
So,
did you talk about what the actions might be?
Not specifically. Denise, help me out here. We didn't talk about specific actions.
Yeah, I think just one of the things we did talk about was the fact that if you've got that cushion, you've got more resources that you can lean into, whether it be for additional training, additional investment in yourself, wider reach, all of that. But we said it's the small things every day. We talked about small hinges swing great doors. So what we do every day, day in, day out, for those 12 months will lead to the end result at the end of the year.
I love that. I love that. You can tell these ladies are my one-to-one clients, right? Because they've got it. They have it, right? Who else would like to share? I'd love to take one more pairing.
I'll go.
Go for it, Rach. Who were you paired with?
Renata and I were quite different, I think, just because of the things that have been going on. So for me, if I woke up with a 1 million, I think I would be very much at the moment a bit like someone who's won the lottery. And because I haven't dealt with my money issues, I would be really chuffed to start with, but then I wouldn't really know how to deal with it. Other than that, I'm very good at investing, and maybe I would end up being financially free because I could invest. Renata was more that she already knew she was worthy of it, and she would love working for it. Me at the moment, I need to work out that bit of really enjoying what I'm doing. Was there anything else, Renata?
Yes. So one of the distinctions that I made was based upon the way in which, Jess, you described the question, because I feel like you said it in two different ways. So for question 3, you said you have 12 months to, like, you can keep the $1 million if you work for it. And when I heard that, I was like, awesome. Oh my gosh, you guys, I love working. This is going to be so good. And then the second way that you phrased it was, you have 12 months to prove that you're worthy of it. And I was like, I mean, we're there. So I thought that was a really good distinction. And it was really great for both Rachel and I to have very different viewpoints of the same thing.
100%. And that's the purpose of these questions and putting you in partners, right? Because your partner is the mirror. And the purpose of being in those partners is to almost trigger at one another with your responses, or inspire one another with your responses, or motivate one another with your responses, or bask in the fact that you're more similar than you thought, right? So whatever happened in your breakout room was perfect, but what the questions did was really hold that mirror up to you. So what I'm going to do with those questions is I'm going to put them in the Facebook group, and you guys can, continue to work on those questions and just get really, really clear on your answers, and then share even more powerfully in that space to keep this conversation moving forwards. All right. So my next question is, who actually wants $1 million or more in their bank account? Okay. Who felt uncomfortable admitting that they want $1 million or more in their bank account? Right? Good. Gemma's like, a little bit. And it's perfect, right? And even again, the questions are like a mirror to, I want it, and I'm scared I might lose it. Like, all the money stories start to come up, right? When you actually admit out loud, I want this thing. One that comes up for so many people is, people are going to think I'm different. People are going to think I'm going to brag. People are going to, right? All these different things. People are going to want me, be at my door, asking for everything, and I'm not going to know how to respond, right? Or fear, I don't know if I can keep it. Or, oh my God, it's going to be really hard work, right? There's all the money stories come up. So everybody would like it. It actually brings freedom. And if you guys are working with me, you know that creating income, and more importantly, long-term sustainable wealth, is a non-negotiable. Because when we have income, we can create impact. And most of us like shiny, sparkly things. We like to travel, we like to drink champagne, we like to, do all of the wonderful things, and it's perfect, right? There's no shame in being a woman who creates wealth. So if it hasn't already been, this masterclass is going to continue to be revealing. And it's going to be a call to action that's really going to support you to create that first million, but as a byproduct of who you're being. And who you're being, if you work with me in this space, which you all are committed to, is somebody who loves their life, is somebody who experiences happiness, fulfillment, and who has that million in the bank as a byproduct of who you're being. What's really, really important is that you don't make the numbers in your bank account mean something about you, about your worth, about your success, about your value. Numbers are numbers. Whether you've got £5 or £5 million in the bank account, you don't need to create a story around what that means. All it is awareness. This is my starting point. From here, I can create anything, and we're going to talk about that. First of all, our negative numbers, right? Lots of us have been in overdrafts, we take credit, mortgages, car finance, all of the things. Again, there's no shame in it. Numbers are just numbers. Money is simply energy, all right? So throughout our life, we create these money stories. We're conditioned, you know, with these beliefs around money. And I'd love you to just on your piece of paper or in the chat box, write down some of your money stories and where they come from. So when I did this piece of work, it was really revealing for me. When I create a masterclass, I always go back and do the work before I share it with you guys. And when I thought about like, what's my money story? What's my money story? And my money story was that my mom used to spend money freely, right? She would take me to, you know, I went to my best friend's sister was getting married when I was 14. And my mom took me to this shop in Perth in Scotland called Mona Lisa, which was a designer shop. And she bought me a Versace dress to go to this wedding and this massive hat, like all extravagance, no expenses there. And we weren't rich or wealthy, right? We did okay, but we weren't like abundant in the sense of having tens of thousands of pounds in the bank. But my mum didn't, she spent money freely. There was no scarcity whatsoever. And what I realized was in the background, my dad was like constantly panicking about money. He was getting up early, he was going to work, he was staying late to bring home more commission, right? So my mum had one thing going on and my dad had something else going on. And my belief, because I witnessed that relationship, was I will never rely on a man for money, right? Interesting. So that was my money story. So I'd like you just to take a few minutes and write down, again, you always continue this work out with the space, but what are some of your money stories and where have they come from? Let's do 4 minutes until 8:46 or 3:46. Helen, welcome. The ladies are just taking a few minutes to write down some of the money stories that they've held on to throughout their life. So you can start to reflect upon that and then we'll catch you up. Okay, so Rosa said, I can still hear my mum saying money doesn't grow on trees. Rachel, you have to save for a rainy day. Don't ever go into debt. Buy from the sales. Women can't be trusted with money. People won't like me if I have too much. People like that are selfish. I need a man for money. Dollars must be saved, must work hard. Lots of work is good. And then the other side, I attract money. It flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. Interest. I created that with somebody. Was it you, Stephanie? We created an affirmation like that. Money comes from expected and unexpected places. Yeah, it's interesting that. Money is hard to come by. I have to live paycheck to paycheck to make ends meet. There was never enough to go around. My dad always worked his butt off. I get going and it disappears. A man is the main earner. Can't be a good accountant and be in debt. Everyone else has money. It's embarrassing to be on benefits. Right? There are a lot of money stories. So continue to just get clear on what your money stories are after this call. And what you really want to think about is, you know, when it comes to creating wealth, how many of these stories actually get in your way? how many of these stories actually get in your way? How many of these stories do you believe? How many of these stories are blocks to what are possible for you? Because money stories are just stories. Money stories are actually, when you allow them to get in your way, a reflection of confidence and self-belief. They're not about money. They're not about money. People with money think they are all that, right? I'm not confident enough to be all that. So I don't want all that money because people are going to start to judge me. I'm not confident to deal with all those judgments, right? Only spend what I have because I'm scared. I'm not confident that I'm going to be able to create more. It's embarrassing to be on benefits. I'm not confident enough to tell people what my reality is right now and to actually leverage my evolution to inspire, right? Your money stories are never actually about money. They're actually about your confidence and your self-belief, right? Helen's just put in the chat box, the harder you work, the more money you'll have. Now that puts loads of people off, right? I'm not going to go for £1 million. I'm happy with what I've got right now, because if I commit to earning £1 million, oh my God, it is going to take a lot of work and I'm not really committed to that. I don't trust myself to do what it takes to create that. Money stories are not about money. They're about your confidence and your self-belief. So you can do this now, or you can do this after the call once you've completed your list of money stories and where they've come from. I literally want you to take your piece of paper and I want you to tear it up into 1 million pieces or burn it or whatever that is, because you know that these are just stories. They're not even about money. They're about confidence and self-belief. And I want you to choose to let the stories go, because analyzing them, trying to understand where they came from, letting them be blocks in your life, if that worked, you'd already be a millionaire. It hasn't worked. If you're going to create a story about money, create a story that serves you. I attract money in alignment with who I'm being and what I'm committed to doing. When I show up every single day with conviction in who I am and what I've been put on this planet to do, and I live a life that is fun and free, and I practice pleasure, money is a byproduct of who I'm being. That's mine. Right? If you're going to create a story, create one that serves you. So rip it up, because you don't need to analyze it. That's just procrastination. That's time wasting. You could be out there creating it. Choose to create a future from the future. Choose to create a money story that has never existed in your life before, and then step into being the person that creates that future. Step into pulling that future into your present. That is my invitation to you, because if holding on to those money stories worked, you would already be a millionaire, right? My $1 million goal, the story that I shared at the beginning, it was like a huge time of reflection for me. And the reason that I talk about it to you guys all the time is it really shows, like, even when you're in this work and you're fully committed to your daily practices and, you know, who you declare yourself to be and your mission and your purpose on this planet, it is very easy to lose yourself. It's very easy to lose yourself. And what I was doing in those moments when I lost myself, I was doing what I thought an entrepreneur should do, right? I was doing what I thought an entrepreneur should do. If you want to make £1 million, $1 million, spend all your money, all your energy, your time focused on that goal. Actually, the truth is, when I'm spending less time on that and more time on doing the things I love, I'm closer to that goal than I ever have been. What I realized when I held up the $1 million mirror is that I get to create a way of entrepreneurship around my world. I get to create a way of entrepreneurship that hasn't existed before. And it gets to be fun. And actually, that's what entrepreneurship is, right? The actual definition of entrepreneurship is an entrepreneur sets up a business, right? So it starts with your choice. It sets up a business, takes on financial risk, and works towards profits. An entrepreneur builds, innovates, creates, and problem solves. So entrepreneurs, every single one of you on this call, you're a creator. Whatever you want to create, you can go out there and create it. You get to build whatever you want to build. And the only thing that is required is for you to be a person who is committed to creating no matter what. No matter what. Release the timeline, right? Focus on who you're being. Are you living a life that you love? Are you focused on happiness, success, and fulfillment? And money will be a byproduct of who you're being. Because let me tell you, reaching your goals, and I know you're all successful women on this call, you've all had goals in mind and reached them. I know lots of you have been in the corporate world earning big money. I know lots of you have been traveling all over the world. And actually being in your own business and starting from this blank canvas and from scratch can feel a little bit frustrating at times. And reaching the goals, as you've probably experienced before, it doesn't define you. Reaching the goal doesn't define you. You're worthy before you create the results. You're worthy while you're creating the results. You're worthy when you create the results. If you're being who you declare yourself to be and taking consistent, aligned action, this thing that you're creating, it's working. You might not see the results yet, but if you are being committed and taking consistent, aligned action every single day, it's working. Renata and I had a one-to-one today. Renata's in her 3rd year of business, coming up to 3 years in business. And all of a sudden, she's like, whoa, last month I had to take 3 weeks off. And the money just kept coming in as a compound effect of who I have been committed to being over the last 2 years. There is a stable foundation upon which she can now play and have fun and build wealth beyond her wildest dreams. You don't imagine if she'd given up 18 months ago. She just said, you know what, I don't see the results that I'm looking for. Let me just quit. 97% of entrepreneurs quit before they see the results. What we do in this space is we create a capacity and an internal capacity and conviction in who you are and what you've been put on this planet to do, so that when you reach your financial goal, you're happy. We build the conviction first. We build the capacity first. And what that means is I'm going to get out of bed every single day excited about this, regardless of who's watching, regardless of who's buying, regardless of what's going on in the external world. This is who I am and this is what I'm committed to. So in building my business, I want to share some things that I'm not doing, right? I'm going to share some things that I'm not doing. So in business, I am not waiting for people to work with me. I have so much conviction that I trust when it's the right time, you're going to jump in, right? And do all of the things. That's why we've got Helen here, Julie here, Roz is here. Roz is doing Trailblazer as well, because she knew the time was right for her. Did I reach out to you, Roz? Right? I am not waiting for people to work with me. I trust that when it's the right time for you, you'll jump in. I am not comparing myself to other people in this business or any other business. I am too busy focusing on powerfully serving you to be worried about what anybody else is doing. I'm not forgetting who I am or what my mission on this planet is when distractions come along. And the power of having a community, just like Devin pointed out to me, Jess, you forgot who you are for a minute. Please bring your presence back to your family. The power of having a community is we notice when you're not being in alignment with who you declare yourself to be. And we will lovingly point that out to you to support you to reach your goals more quickly. That's the power of being in this space on a long-term basis. We build the relationships whereby we support that. I am not complaining about what's not, right? I'm not complaining that there's not £1 million in the bank yet. I'm celebrating that actually I'm impacting all these people. Every month there's new people coming in. I'm getting to travel all over the world. I'm leaving on a jet plane tonight to go to a wedding. You know, I'm celebrating what is. I'm not focusing on what's not. I'm not labeling things as good or bad. Instead, in every single moment, I'm looking for the learning. What's the opportunity here? What's the gift here? This is a really important one for you ladies. I am never, ever, ever leaking my energy by saying yes to the things that I don't want to do. I never say yes to the things that I don't want to do. I just don't people please. My invitation to you on your journey to £1 million and more, whatever it is that you want to create, relationships, business, life, fall in love with the process and the transformation will take care of itself. Fall in love with the process and the transformation will take care of itself. I'm going to move into talking about the dip in a second. Does anybody have any questions before I do? Someone I was meant to be collaborating with on a new project declared our vibes weren't compatible today, and I'm okay with that. I don't need to wait for their vibe to meet mine. My vibe is great on its own. Thank you, universe. I get to create powerfully on my own terms. I get to impact people on my own terms. And the wealth that I collect as a byproduct of that is mine to do with what I wish. Beautiful. And there's two people going to go out and create in the world, and they're both going to attract their own tribes. So love the attitude around that, Helen. Powerful. Powerful. So I want to touch upon the dip. All of these things, you know, I go into way more detail in the Trailblazer course that's upcoming, but I want to talk about the dip because this is so important when you are creating, you know, your financial goals, long-term sustainable wealth. The dip, what I mean by the dip is you might have had a certain level of income prior to starting your own business, or you might have experienced some really high cash months, and at the moment you're not earning as much as what you have been in the past. There's lots of reasons that you might experience a dip, but what I mean is when you've got a bit of a drop in your income for whatever reason that might be. Stephanie Bundrock, I hope you don't mind me sharing, I know you've shared it publicly in the community, is right in the middle of, you know, this goal that has been on hold for almost her whole entire life, 26 years. The products arrived, and the day before she picked them up, she found out that her husband has lost his job. Holy smokes. Did Stephanie climb into despair when they know they're going to experience this financial dip? Or did she step into faith and surrender to something big is coming? There is a reason for what is going on here. It takes a huge level of conviction to know that this dip is leading somewhere extraordinary, right? But that's an extreme example of a dip that is actually going on in this community right now. So the dip happens sometimes because you're leaving the old behind. You know, maybe you've moved from paid employment to being in your own business full time. And it is so important that, just like Stephanie, you're willing to ride through a dip in the knowledge that it's actually taking you to your next level. In a dip, there is learning that does not feel comfortable, but there is learning required to take you to the next level, whether it's I need more skills, whether I need more internal capacity to actually be able to be a powerful entrepreneur. There is something going on. There is always a reason for the dip, and it's about your willingness to ride through it. So wherever you're at right now, whether you're in the dip for whatever reason that is, it is part of entrepreneurship. What I want you to remember when you experience the dip, and you might not have yet, and you will if you're committed to being on this journey, is that when you started your business, for some of you, this was a long time ago, for some of you, this is really recent, you were at zero, right? You were at zero, and you had the audacity to believe that you were going to transform the world. You had the audacity to believe that you were going to change lives, and you were confident enough to go for it. For the rest of your life, for the rest of the time that you're committed to entrepreneurship and your business, you want to show up no matter what, just like you did on day one, with that level of belief, like, I'm just going to go for it. Dips are normal. Dips are normal, especially when you change your business model, especially when you put out new offers, especially when you choose to raise your prices, especially when you choose to work with a different demographic of people than you ever have before. And if you want highs as an entrepreneur, you need to be willing to also go through the lows. And what's really important in the dip is discernment, right? Discernment is key. When you're in the dip, comparing yourself to other people, getting caught up in what's not, it's not going to serve you, nor is the energy of uncertainty. I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I'm capable of this. None of that is going to serve you. What you really want to do is tap into like your discernment. Wait a minute, what's going on here? What can I learn from this? Where do I need to stabilize foundations that are shaky? Because if there's an area of your life or your business that you're not seeing results, it's just because something needs strengthened. You've got shaky foundations that need strengthened. That's all that is going on. So when you experience a dip, ask yourself the question, am I being who I declare myself to be? Am I being consistent? Am I actually being an entrepreneur? Is there a shaky foundation in my business model, in my offers? Are there too many offers? Are there not enough? Where is my energy and attention going on a daily basis? These are powerful questions, not comparison, not complaint, not labeling as good or bad. Actually loving what is. And let me tell you, when you have what's the word? So I call it a hot audience. What I mean by a hot audience is you have a community of people, you have followers, people who are on your journey or watching your journey. When you have a hot audience who are following your evolution, your business, your products, your services, when you have a hot audience, there are never dips. Not significant ones anyway. And this is what leads me into the last thing that I want to talk about tonight, which is being unrelatable. Being unrelatable. So how do you build a hot audience, right? Now, this could be online, this can be in person, it doesn't really matter. How do you build a hot audience? Now, I say this is being unrelatable. And the reason that I call it unrelatable is that not many people build their business in this way. Most people want a system or a strategy or a quick fix. The way that we build business in this community is we put ourselves first. We create a life that we love with the people that we love, and we take consistent aligned action towards our goals from a frequency of fun and love. And we're unrelatable because we're not in a hurry. We're actually committed to the journey. We love the journey, and we're committed to creating long-term sustainable wealth, so that if the internet like disappeared tomorrow or the world changed tomorrow, our business would remain the same, because we have a community of people who are so connected to us, our world, our journey, and our offers. So being unrelatable, for me, when I'm talking about this, it means all of that. And most importantly, what it means is loving and serving your clients and your community like nobody else on this planet does. Being unrelatable to me means being authentically you like no other. Not only sharing like the great moments, the pretty moments, right? By actually sharing your story, the ins and outs, the journey, not just what's going on right now, but actually looking at your life and really leveraging your evolution. Thinking if I want to ask you ladies a question here. So, creating a hot audience, being unrelatable, is how you're going to ensure that you are taking consistent, aligned action towards your goals. Income creates impact. How do you create a hot audience? Share your story, be authentically you, love and serve like no other with no attachment to outcome. And I'm going to give you some tangible tips so that you can start to apply being unrelatable to your life and your business, so you can start to see results. So take some time following the call. And again, I'm going to put prompts about all of this into the Facebook group. Take some time after the call and get clear on what is your story. What is your life story? You can think about those beliefs that, we've talked about, those money stories, like, this used to be my thoughts about business, about creating life, about what was possible. And here's what I've realized. What's your story? What's taken you to be the person that you are today? You all want to love and serve people powerfully. Well, why? Why is that so important to you? So I want you to get really clear on your story and how you can start sharing that with other people. That's the relatable part. The warts and all. That's the relatable part. People are going to come into your world because this person, she gets it. She's not claiming to be perfect. She's actually been on a journey, and that actually shows me that, it's possible for me too. They're going to support me to get to where I want to go because they've lived a life that I can actually relate to. Talk about the transformation that you help people achieve. So when people come into your world, when people spend time with you, when people buy your products and services, what is the transformation that they're going to experience? People want someone who can take them to where they want to go. People buy products and services from someone who can take them where they want to go. How are you telling your people in simple terms that you can support them to create that transformation in their lives? And I just want you to spend some time thinking about those things. So, you know, how willing are you to be seen? How willing are you to share your journey? How willing are you to be so connected to your products and services and the transformation that people experience by being in your world that you'll shout about it every single day? I was watching the NBA playoffs last night. For anyone who doesn't know, Devin is the go-to mind coach of the NBA, amongst many other things. And so for me, it's like a commitment. I'm really going to learn this sport, right? Because I need to be able to have some knowledge. You know, as the wife of the go-to mind coach of the NBA, I need to have some kind of knowledge. So we're watching the playoffs last night, and in America, the TV adverts are like crazy. I never watch them in the UK. I record everything and fast forward them. But in America, cannot avoid these adverts. Every like 7 minutes or something, even in the middle of the match, they're on. And every 7 minutes, there was one advert that was on, like literally on every 7 minutes. Now it was Steph Curry, who is one of the NBA players. He plays for the Golden State Warriors. I think that's what they're called. So him and a female NBA player, and they were selling an app that tells you whether you're viable for credit for buying a car, right? This obviously worked because I remember the details, right? Every 7 minutes, the same advert was on. People come to me all the time and like, Jess, I don't want to be salesy. You will never be salesy if you are in my world. We come from love and service, not sales and marketing. And what was so valuable about seeing that same advert every 7 minutes is that to share who you are and your mission and your service on this planet and the transformation that people can experience by being in your world, you actually have to be willing to tell people. And you have to be willing to create a really clear, simple, consistent message. People will not get bored of hearing the same message over and over and over again. They might get like frustrated or here we go again or something. But what will happen is when you're consistently talking to who you are, the transformation that people are going to experience through being in your world and your products and services, you will become the go-to person for whatever it is that you're offering in this world. Now, the place to do that is when you have a hot audience. And that's like if you use social media, you want to use stories, not your feed. This is a whole different type of training, right? But you absolutely want to consider every single day, are you actually telling people in your world about the benefits, not the benefits, but are you telling people in your world that you're available to support them with their transformation? Are you telling people in the world what your gifts are? Or are you hiding, not being seen, keeping it all to yourself, being stingy? Are you willing for the next 90 days, every single day, to talk about who you are, your journey, and to tell people about the transformation they can experience by being in your world? I'm not talking about twice a week, 5 times a week. I'm asking, are you willing every single day for 90 days and more to be somebody who is so committed to their mission and purpose on this planet that they wake up excited to do that, to be that, without any attachment to outcome? Not I'm going to do it for 30 days and see who engages. Not I'm going to do it for 45, and if somebody buys a product or a service, I'll keep going. Are you willing to hold up that $1 million mirror accept everything that you see and make a commitment to being somebody who loves their life, who is committed to living a life that they love, knowing that when you do that as a byproduct, you will create all of the financial abundance that you have ever desired and so much more. And the final question that I'm going to leave you with is, what is your next unrelatable step? What is your next unrelatable step? Are you willing to love, serve, and nurture and really create a hot audience? Are you willing to let people experience you? What is your unrelatable next step? And again, I'm going to pop that question in the Facebook group. I'm going to hear what your commitments are, and I'm going to continue powerfully to support you guys to move forward this month based on the commitments that you make. Okay, so from today's call, there's actually a lot of like homework assignments, right? There's a lot. So remember, I always say when you've been in a masterclass, it goes quickly. We get through a lot. Show up once, be present. You're receiving new information. That's all that it is at this stage. Is I've heard some new information. This sounds great. What am I going to do with it? Watch the masterclass twice, because when you watch it for a second time, you hear the information differently. You apply it more to your own life, your own circumstances, and you're going to make notes that relate to what it is that you're up to in the world. And then make a commitment to applying your learning to your life. And share the impact of applying this learning to your life in the Facebook group, because that's when your community, and I am part of that community, can support you to keep stepping forward, to keep the momentum. So once for information, twice for transformation. Before we go up, I'm conscious I'm 3 minutes over time. I'd love you to write your biggest takeaway in the chat box for me from tonight. What has been your biggest takeaway, aha moment, realization, whatever has been powerful for you? I'd love to know. Does anyone want to come on and share rather than write in the chat box? Denise is ready for bed. Being unrelatable is a huge thing for me. Yeah.
All of it has been seriously amazing. Like, next level. And can I just say, I've noticed you just in the last year, I mean, just showing up so much more on social media, and every single post is like, wow. And it doesn't matter who likes it, or, that doesn't matter to you. You keep showing up, right? Which is probably why there's more people on here, because
100%.
And you don't reach out to people. I know that. So, I mean, it's been amazing. I'm totally rewatching it, and I'm fully committed, because I am launching my business next week. It's happening.
This is so exciting. Thank you for your acknowledgement, Stephanie. And I love that you did, acknowledge the difference, the transformation, the evolution that you see. And what's so important for you guys is that I am committed to being on this journey and making all of the mistakes so that you guys can collapse time and space around what it is that you're creating in this world. So all the mistakes that I make, I celebrate, because actually it means that I can bring you, like, here's like, the next steps to your evolution. And honestly, the biggest learning for me has been, like, live a life you love. And it's hard to believe until you're actually, like, seeing the evidence of it, right? It's hard to believe that you will create more than you could ever have imagined by slowing down, by having fun, by practicing pleasure, by focusing on you. And I am the evidence of that. And some of the community members, lots of the community members in here are also evidence of that as well. And that's why being part of the community is so, so powerful. So know that I love you all. The replay will be in your inbox by tomorrow morning. Lucy is on it, I know. And any questions that come up, any realizations that come up, reach out to me by email. I'm always available for it. And I cannot wait to see you all again super, super soon. Lots of love, ladies. Good night, good night, good night.